Hello, Matt Bisogno here from Geegeez.co.uk, and if I haven't spoken to you before, Happy New Year. I know it's halfway through January, it's probably a little bit late to be doing such things, but we're really getting cracking across the various projects now, mainly Geegeez, of course. And in this video, I'd like to share with you, if I may, a few of the things that are either underway or actually live or very nearly live. I'm conscious I need to do some documentation updates to reflect these things, but I wanted to show you what's going on. Might feel like there's not a lot of activity just now on site, but there's a heck of a lot going on underneath the surface. So with that said, let's switch over to the computer screen and I'll show you what's happening. Okay, so let's start with Geegeez and the race cards. And one of the things that has appeared on our race card since the start of this year, which I have yet to broadcast and should have because it's kind of quite a significant investment, relates to sectional timing and specifically to the inclusion now of all of the sectional data. So previously we had sectional data for the at the races Sky Sports racing tracks, so Lingfield, Newcastle, Southall, Wolverhampton, and we had gaps in the provision for Chelmsford and Kempton, as well as all the other racing TV tracks in the UK. Now, if you click the Show Sectionals button, you'll see that there are no gaps. So we now have the Kempton and Chelmsford, and indeed Bath and Brighton there at the races. I'm trying to find some other ATR RTV tracks, but I can't find any. Wetherby, and so on. Anyway, we've got all the data now for the last 2 years for racing TV tracks as well as Sky Sports Racing. This is for UK racing only. So now you can see the full picture for each runner. And when you see a fast finisher number, you know that it's in the context of the whole field rather than a subset, only the kind of Sky Sports Racing subset that we had before. The reason I haven't broadcast it to this point is because a couple of reasons. Firstly, I want to change some of this layout here. So this is the traditional layout that you're used to seeing, and if you click the Show Sectionals button, you'll see this layout with the running lines, which I think are very interesting. It shows a horse's position in the field and how far behind the leader, or if they were the leader, how far in front they were at each point. So, for example, if we look at Tootsie here, his Chelmsford run on the 11th of January, you can see that at the first point of call, so there's 5, the last one is the finish line. At the first point of call, you can see he was 4th. 1.5 lengths behind the leader, and he was still 4th at the second point, 1 3/4 lengths behind the leader. Dropped back to 6th at the third call, nearly 3 lengths behind the leader. Then he made a move towards the front, and then flattened out again in the final yards. And if you look at the race comment, it says, in touch with leaders, press leaders briefly inside final furlong, outpaced final 110 yards. Now, I always find that things like outpaced or weakened are very subjective terms, and they may be correct, but they may not be correct as well. So I'd much rather trust the data. So I'm happy with the running lines anyway. The race beat versus par, I think, is okay. But this section over here, I want to put more information relating to the sectional data set that we have in that space, because this is kind of duplication, because you've got that data there on the traditional view. So we're definitely going to upgrade this section. I'm going to do a bunch of refreshers on what sectional data is, why it's interesting, how you can use it, which is the most important thing, and kind of what you should be looking for. And expect that to happen later in the month or early in February, but it's certainly on the radar. I'm very excited to have all of the data rather than the previous scenario where there are big gaps in the provision, because they were not very helpful. Now, one thing to say about the jump racing, if we look at a horse like Aberfeldy, you can see he's got non-completions here. So he was second, then he unseated, then he was second, and he pulled up. So if we look at his actually they were it looks like they were point-to-point runs. Let me find a similar example where the runs were in the UK and under rules, and that seemingly is more difficult than I was expecting. Let's try this guy, I Am the Moon. Move with the beat, here we go. Right, so you can see in this guy's case, you can see these two wands will have been point-to-point runs, and then he's come under rules here, and he's run fifth, refused to race, and fell. So if we look at the sectionals, you can see that this was the run when he was fifth. He led and then flattened out. Obviously he went too fast in the start and paid the price late on. He subsequently refused to race, and then he pulled up. So when a horse is a non-completer, they don't get sectional data. So if you still see gaps and you wonder why they're there, that's the reason why. Okay, probably laboured that point a little bit, but that's the sectional timing data. Obviously, if you're looking at the fast finishers report, you will see tracks there that are not just the historical Sky Sports racing tracks. So you can see we've got Ludlow on here and Wincanton, and a lot of Chelmsford action on the fast finishers report. Okay, so that's something that's there already. Now, what's coming next? Well, the first chunk of development work for 2026 is planned around small changes. So obviously we've got some big projects planned for later in the year, but I'm conscious that we need to, as time passes, there are small bugs that get found and little functional enhancements that get requested, and so we'll be doing a tranche of those bug fixes and small changes. One that's live on our development environment is a change to the tracker stars. So historically, if you click on the star, it's going to add or remove an item from your tracker, to or from your tracker. But now it's a kind of a two-stage process. So if I click on the tracker item, I get this box that comes up, and I can now add a note to the tracker from the race card. Update. And then if I go to, so if I hover over that, you can see my note there. And if I go to my tracker, in fact, that's going to take me to my Geegeez tracker. Let me just, you can see that I've added this, this note is added here on my tracker. And he's up here, of course, as well, and I can remove him there, view the notes, and so on, as you can now. So we've just added that functionality where you can see right in the race card the tracker notes, and you can add them, update them, and remove them. So let's just quickly remove that tracker note again. So I just click on the star as I used to do, and now there's a remove button. And when I do that, you can see that that tracker note an entry has been removed. So that's the first of a bunch of new components that we're adding. What else are we adding? So these are some things that are on our list here. We're going to add each way terms to the odds tab. So that will be the number of places and the fractional odds. So for instance, a fifth, the first three, or whatever it is. We are going to try to add a score, the shortlist score, to Instant Expert on all pages. That will be an optional field, so you can display it or not display it. We need to put sire snippets into report angles. That should have always been there. That's an oversight. The Horses for Courses report doesn't have an odds column, so we'll add that. An export to CSV button on the shortlist report. We're going to add a Betfair SP column to the Bet Tracker. You can add selections at Betfair SP, but there isn't a column showing you what the BSPs were. I'm not sure we'll get to the Draw tab upgrade in this window because I want to keep it kind of quite quite a tight timeline, so we'll see about that one. We're going to have a race course drop down on pretty much all the reports. I don't think we'll get to this miscellaneous report in this window. We might do because we have the data. So I'm going to add the breeding suffix on the full form tab, so if it's Irish or French or UK or German and so on. And then we've got some bigger components that we'll get to probably later in the year, I think. So pace tab upgrades, options to show or hide the Betfair data on the race cards, and updating the reports with the race results during the day. So we'll come to those, if not in this short update window, then later in the year. But those are the things I want to focus on short term, and then after that we're going to come on to Query Tool and look at last race functionality. So where a horse finished last time, what kind of race it was, how far it was beaten, what its pace score was, and so on. Pretty excited for that, but I just wanted to get some bug fixes and some small upgrades in between now and then. Okay, and now, if I may, I would like to tell you a bit about some of the other projects that I'm working on at the moment. And by all means, feel free to, if you're only interested in Geegeez in the horse racing, then the rest of this may be less interesting to you. Although I am going to share a syndicate update, a Geegeez racehorse syndicate update at the end of the video. But before that, I want to share a little bit about the tennis work that I'm doing, and also ticks, two really exciting projects which are at very fun times at the moment. So first of all, the tennis. Some of you may be aware that on Sunday the Australian Open starts, and at the moment the qualifying is happening for the Australian Open, which is may have finished actually. Just refresh this page. Yeah, it looks like the Aussie Open qualifying is finished, so the main draw will be happening any day now. We will have all of the matches on our Tennis Profits website in due course. You can see the layout here, so we've got some data at the top, and then ranking stuff that you can change by our Tennis Profits surface ranks or official ranking if you prefer, and change the time frames and so on, and see how these players have converged in this case. So Berrettini was a top class player, but he's had a lot of injury problems, and in the same time frame, School Kate has just improved and improved, as you can see there. So Berrettini was top 10 player, but it's gone away from him, and the other guy's gone in the other direction. Lots of match data, lots of specific data relating to things that you might trade in running in a match, or use to decide pre-match which players to bet. This is some of what we have. We've got loads more in the tennis Profits setup, and you can get a £1 trial if you've never tried it before. You can get 21 days for £1. And if you have tried it before, if you log in, we've got a discount, a special Aussie Open discount running literally until Sunday, so only a short period of time, and you'll find all of that at tennisprofits.com if that's interesting to you. Now, something else that I was doing with the tennis data set, I can export a bunch of data, and in fact you can as well. If you're a Tennis Profits member, you can go to that's not where I want to be. You can go to the women's or men's stats, and you can copy data from here and copy it into a CSV for various things, and as many players as you want by surface or different variables. Now I did that, and I put it into ChatGPT just for a bit of fun, and tried to come up with some ranking scores. So there are essentially three components to there's myriad components, but there are three kind of building blocks of a tennis player's game. One of them is serve, a second one is return, And a third one is kind of the mental side of it, which I call control here. Now there is a fourth one which is physicality, and you know, you could come up with any number of other ones, but these are the three that I've used: serve, return, and control. And along with my friends at ChatGPT, I managed to use a bunch of the stats from this key stats and also other stats. These stats, if you hover over them, they will tell you what each one is. And you can get more detail on them if that's interesting to you, with tour average comparisons and break down the number of points that percentage is based on, and so on. But I took the raw stats and put them into ChatGPT, and we tried to make some sense of them. So what I did is I did that for you can see here I've got the period is the last 10, but you can choose these other periods. So I did it for both last 10 matches on the hard courts and last 2 years on hard courts, and we worked out these rankings based on Z scores and various other clever statistical methods. And over here on the right hand side, you can see I've got an AO comp rank, Australian Open composite rank overall. So this is, I've sorted this from 1 through to 50. These are the top 50 players, and I use this kind of green to red heat mapping to highlight players' kind of strengths and weaknesses. So you can see that the number one player on everything basically is Sabalenka. She's not the best returner, but she's pretty good. Her match control is, I think it is the best. I can just do a quick largest, smallest. Yeah, you can see she's best on match control. She's best on serve, pretty much, with Rybakina and Osaka. And overall, she is the best player, and that's reflected in the fact that she is the short-priced, about 2-to-1 favourite to win the Australian Open. That price is not wrong, but it's not necessarily exciting. So who might be interesting against her? Well, you can see again our top 10 on the right hand side here. If I move that across, so that's the top 10 players on hard courts, the way that I've set this up with the various rankings. And this column C here is official ranking. So you can see the top 3 players are actually the top 3 in the world rankings. No big shock there. And 5 and 6 in the rankings are there as well. But Osaka and Svitolina and Bencic and Badosa and Mukova are they're kind of punching above their official ratings to some degree. And conversely, Anisimova, Paulini, Andreeva and Keys are underperforming. Maybe hard courts are not their best surfaces. So are there opportunities there? Yeah, potentially. Maybe we can look at some of these players in the when the draw's been made. We can look at some of these players in the quarter betting to go far in the quarters, their respective quarters. I think Bencic is kind of interesting. She's come into this tournament hot. She seems to have found her form in quite a big way in recent times. Let me just find her here. And if I click on her player page, you can see that she actually hasn't lost in her last 10. That was a walkover. She actually conceded that one. So you can see that her recent form, basically since October in this WTA 500 tournament, and these are all hard court tournaments. She won this, she withdrew here, and she won this. So she's coming in really hot to Australia, and yeah, she's not young. She's 28 now, and she seems to have really found her form on the hard court surface, and yeah, she might be quite interesting at a price. And there are a couple of others that might also be interesting. Feel free to pause this video and look at something else that might be interesting to you. I did think that it was kind of interesting that if you look at a player like Coco Gauff, who is a very good hard court player. Maybe slightly better on clay. But anyway, her serve, you can see, is slightly problematic, or certainly at a lower level compared with the other players. And she famously has got problems with her second serve, so she double faults a huge amount on her second serve, which is a challenge to her. But the rest of her game is very strong. She can dominate players, as evidenced in this control column here. After Sabalenka, she's the most kind of ominous rival on the other side of the net, if you like, and you can see who the other players are there. So it's an interesting data set. It's just a bit of fun, really. I'm trying to look for something that I can introduce from a kind of a ratings or rankings basis on a more match to match level within the tennis data set. And I quite like this for the outrights and the quarter betting. So I'll definitely be using this top section here to be with and against players when the quarter betting in the women's Australian Open comes out. Okay, so that's the Aussie Open stuff. Ticks, good old ticks. Now, ticks is something very close to my heart, and we have some upgrades on it, which I'd like to share with you now. So this is if you've used ticks before, this would be a fairly familiar home screen to you. We have slightly changed the layout with the first race time, which I think is quite helpful to know that. We've added in these turbo place pots that Totes have now added. They're kind of interesting. They're cross meeting, and there'd be six races close together. So if we look at this place pot 1, for instance, you can see it starts with the 107 at Ludlow, and then it goes to the 117, the 125, the 133, the 142, and the 152. So the place pot runs from 107 to 152. It's over in kind of 45 minutes. So that's the turbo component there, and we've added those in. Materially, we now have a variant on here which is not the classic ABCX. So up to this point, you would be used to this layout where you put your strongest fancies on A, your interesting horses on B, and your dark horses on C, and you then can add multipliers and choose which combinations of A, B and C you want to include. We now have something called Ticks Plus. Now, Ticks Plus is at once more complex and much simpler than ABCX. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go to the Newcastle place pot, and you can see that here I've got a race card here with some odds on it and some boxes on the right hand side. Most importantly, I've got this box top right with a pro and simple drop down. So on the pro version, I've got all this complexity, if you like, on the right hand side, and what that enables me to do is to select the horses that I'm interested in, and then choose how much weight I want each horse to have. So by definition, the software in this case I've chosen a 2 to 5 shot 1.4 and a 7 to 2 shot 4.5, and the software has worked out that the weighting for these two horses should be 75% on the favourite and 25% on the other one. Now I can overwrite that. I could make that 50% on each, like that, and you see that the odds just changed there, so we get odds updates in real time into the software, so that's helpful. But I can make these whatever I want in the pro version, so I can be as detailed as I like and go through the card and make it exactly how I would like it. But for most people, that's going to be too complicated. So in the simple version, I've just got a race card, which I can sort by whatever I want. I tend to sort it by odds to put the fancied runners at the top. And these arrows, by the way, the green arrow means the horse is being bet. So that means there's been money for it. And the red arrows mean it's drifting. And when it's a dash, it means the price hasn't moved. So I can just select the horses that I want to bet. So let's say I wanted to do a 2x2x2 all the way through, like so. I would do that, and then you can't actually see at the bottom of the screen, annoyingly. If I go onto the next tab, which is the tickets tab, it will show me all my different combinations and how much I've got on each one. If I click on the little eye, I can see the breakdowns of the tickets on each one. But most materially at the bottom, it tells me that I've got the cost of this ticket would be £9.98 because I set a budget of £10 and a minimum unit stake of a penny, and it's worked out that I can have as much as 50 pence on these fancied lines and just a much smaller stake on these far less likely outcomes where the dividend, the play spot dividend, is likely to pay a lot more. So it's done all the clever maths behind that I would be doing in here. The maths have been done invisibly to you, so you don't have to worry about any of this stuff unless you particularly want to change these numbers. I've been using the Tix Plus variant. I do occasionally still use ABCX, but I find Tix Plus to be much more intuitive, and I find it to be I have much more control over how I want to make a bet. And yeah, it's been a good source of fun and profit for me in the last few weeks while I've been testing this out. So we're very close to putting this live. Just need to speak to the guys at the Tote and make sure they're happy with what we have, and then I can't wait to share it with you. Like, if you're a PlaySpot player, even if you're a classic 2x2x2 PlaySpot player, you really should be using Tix to do that, because as you can see, you can just do it very simply like this. The reason you should use Tix to do it is because for every £10 you win, you'll get an extra 50p. For every £100 you win, you'll get an extra £5. You'll get £5 bonus for any winning ticket. So as you will know, at the end of the year, 5% is very often the difference between winning and losing over the course of the year, or certainly between losing and being much closer to break even. So these 5%, where they happen, wherever you can find a concession with a bookmaker or with in this case a pool betting company through Tix, you absolutely should avail yourself of any concession you can get, because that's going to get you closer to zero or in front of zero in the black. Okay, so that's Tix, hopefully landing very soon, the new version. I'm excited to share that. Like I say, I've been using it and I've been getting some good results, but I find it much more intuitive, a little bit quicker actually, and really good fun as well. So yeah, looking forward to sharing. And finally, in this roundup that's gone somewhat off-piste, if you're a Geegeez kind of a guy or gal, let me give you an update on the syndicate horses that we've got. So we've got 6. I should give them their full names. G-Force Flyer, he is ready to run at the moment. He was actually entered at Ascot on Saturday in the last race, and we reluctantly decided not to run there. It looks quite a hot race. Now we're trying to get him qualified for a race called the EBF Final at Sandown on I think it's the 7th of March. It's the Saturday before Cheltenham, and it looks a really nice race for him. He would need it to be on the soft side. Got quite a high knee action, so he definitely wants it soft. We think he's a pretty nice horse. He's had 2 runs in maiden hurdles so far. Let me just pull up his form a second. Yeah, so let's just get his form here. So he won a point-to-point in Ireland, and then he finished kind of a close-up third behind Starzand, and you can see here that he was a little way off the pace before making ground, and then flattening out a little bit under what it should be said was not full driving. The ground that day was a bit quicker than the official soft, which wasn't really ideal for him. He then went to Forslas again in mid-November, and he ran against a guy called Legendary Luke. Now, he was odds on that day, but our boy's all about stamina, and 2.5 in what turned out to be a foot race. You can see in both of these races that the final part of the race was very fast, which means they sort of bimbled along and then they sprinted the last bit. That's not really the ideal setup. Our guy's a proper national hunt sort. He probably wants 3 miles and deep ground, maybe more than 3 miles in fact. So in due course we're very excited about him as a staying chaser, but we think he could be a nice horse for the spring this year if we get a wet spring. As I say, his next run he needs to qualify for he needs to run in an EBF qualifier to qualify for this race on the 7th of March, and we're very hopeful that we'll find a race in the next 10 days or so. He'll need to finish in the first 4. We'll see where we go, and you never know what you're up against in these races. You can be up against a grade 1 horse, or a much more workaday bunch. So we'll have to see what happens. He's currently rated 118, which we think is pretty competitive mark. We hope it is anyway. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how we go with him. Next up, Luna Lux. Now, Luna Lux is a filly that I bought in Arcana sale as a yearling. I bought her in, where are we now, 2023. And we loved her pedigree. She's by Mass Marvel out of a mare called Black Luna. Black Luna was a multiple pattern race winner herself. She was a very good race mare. She won her last race round Auteuil by about 20 lengths. Luna Lux is her second progeny, second offspring. The first one went to Gordon Elliott. He's by Dr. Dino, so he's got a pretty sexy pedigree. He's called 7 Étoiles, 7 stars, and he's run twice now, the second of which was a very easy win at Down Royal, in a race won by the Storyteller for the same trainer and owner, and something else, I can't remember the other one, but proper graded horses. So I think they like 7 Étoiles. More materially, we like Luna Lux. Excuse me. Now she has an entry for Catterick next Wednesday in a 4-year-old bumper. I'm not sure if she'll go there yet. It's quite a long way from Dorset to North Yorkshire. But she's been working well, and as far as her homework goes, we think she's nice. We hope she's nice anyway. She was expensive as a yearling, and she's had as if you've read any of the stuff on Geegeez about the syndicates historically, you'll know she's had a fairly storied life up to this point before she's even run. So we're excited to get her on the track and see what she can do. It's very much fingers crossed for her. Dartmoor Pirate was a winner last time. He ran at Lingfield in quite a valuable race, fairly small field, but he pretty much didn't quite make all, but he was on the shoulder of the leader all the way round, and then he powered away in the last quarter mile. He was very impressive that day. Hasn't been unduly raised by the handicapper. He got 7 for that, which I think was fair enough. He's up to 125 now. He is going to have a couple of entries for Saturday week, the 24th. One of them is in the novices handicap chase at Cheltenham on Trials Day, and the other one is in the Great Yorkshire Cup at Doncaster, same day. Excuse me. I'm not sure if he'll take in either of those engagements, but that gives you a kind of a feel for where we think we are with him. He was a good novice. He actually ran in the EBF final that we spoke about previously. He ran fourth. Was probably far enough back that day. We thought they'd go hard and come back, and they jogged round, and the ones at the front of the field stayed there. So he ran a mighty race that day to close into fourth place, and he then had some problems with his back that made life difficult for him. We addressed those in the summer, and he looks like being hopefully quietly progressive this season. Whether he's quite good enough for those entries he's got Saturday week, I'm not sure, but he's earned the right to find out. So yeah, excited about the Pirate. The next one is Ashburton. Now she is a 4-year-old filly. She had a run she was a 3-year-old until 15 days ago. She had a run in a bumper at Doncaster, junior bumper, there in, I think it was in early December, maybe late November. She ran a mighty race to finish second, closing all the way to the line, and I think in another certainly another half furlong she'd have won, and she was going away from the second horse, and they were clear of the rest. You never quite know how much depth there are to those races, but the winner from that race I think is running this afternoon. Let me just check that actually. I think is running this afternoon at Ludlow. Yes, so the Procrastinator here, you can see she beat, the race was at the end of November. The Procrastinator beat Ashburton by a length, by a diminishing length, kept on all out. Our lass was closing her down. So it'd be interesting to see how the Procrastinator runs today. It is tough for these young horses under the penalty, and you can see that she's only the third favourite here. Yeah, so let's see how she goes. But regardless of how she goes, our filly has continued to train well. She's a big filly, and she'll definitely do better in time. She's got a lot of filling out to do. So the fact she was able to run so competitively so early is really power to her elbow, as it were. I'm not sure horses have elbows, but I think you know what I mean. So yeah, we're excited for her. We'll try to find another bumper for her some time in the spring. She's entered in the Goffs £100,000 bumper at Newbury. That's in middle of March, I think. That might be pitching a bit high, and it might not be. She's GBB bonus qualified, so any of those races that she runs in, she'll qualify for quite a healthy bonus if she can win. We'd be hopeful that we could win a race with her before the end of the season, but really we're looking forward to her getting another summer or two under her belt and filling out and maturing physically into the mare she's going to be. She looks very well bought by Anthony, her trainer, and yeah, excited for her future. Then we've got the mighty Sure Touch. I mean, this horse is a bit of a legend. He won the Summer Plate in 2024. He's won 9 races in total, and he's just he won his last race, in fact, at Market Raisin a couple of months ago, and he's had a break since then, but he came back in on the 1st of January. The plan with him is to run in a veterans middle distance chase qualifier at the beginning of, I think that also is the beginning of March. It's going to be a very interesting time, the beginning of March, at Market Raisin again, with the aim of getting him qualified for the final, which I think is mid-April at Haydock. So yeah, that's that's the short-term plan with him. I guess longer term we'll probably have a look at races like the Summer Plate again, although he ran a pretty lamentable race in defence of his title last July. So I mean, he's a horse that owes us nothing. He's just been so much fun, and he's won so many races. It's preposterous, really. But if we might be greedy enough to hope for one more day in the sun, then that's the plan with him. And the last one is the filly that I bought at the same sale that I bought Luna Lux from. I bought this one 2 years later, which was last November, and she's now a 2-year-old. They all get a year older on the 1st of January, as you know. So I bought her as a yearling. She's now a 2-year-old. She's been out in the field. It's kind of a baptism of fire, or maybe a baptism of ice in the field. They get a rug on and they go out there with a few others, and they learn to be hardy, because that's what you need when you're trying to make racehorses. You've got to breed a bit of toughness into them, and as a species, they are out in the wild. They're in the cold. They have to find a way to kind of survive, and obviously they're in a field where they're being well tended to. They're being fed every day. They're being checked on every day. So there are no worries on that score. But they're not in a warm stable being bored. They're out in a field running around with their mates and getting a little bit street smart, street tough out there. I checked in with Charles, Anthony's assistant, at the start of this week, and he tells me that she's doing really well. She's absolutely fine, getting on fine with her field mates, and we're excited for her. She's in the spring. She's going to be coming in. She'll be broken in. They'll put a saddle on her. She'll do a little bit of riding, probably ride around the roads. She may even pop a pole. Maybe that'll happen later in the year. But certainly, once they start the breaking process, they don't mess about. They get on with it. And she again has a wonderful pedigree. She looks like a racehorse. She was bought by Tessa Great Rex, who's one of the high flyer team. They're a small team, high flyer, but very famous bloodstock agents, and they obviously know what they're about. Tessa also helped us source Luna Lux from our shortlist, so we know, like, and trust her. And this filly is obviously one for the future. She won't be doing anything on a racetrack this year, but she may be doing something on the racetrack towards the end of next year. She's syndicated into 10 shares. I've got 3 left, which I'm sure will sell before the end of this year. If you are interested in her, then you can contact me through the usual channels and get involved. I'll put a link to her syndicate blurb, which shows you her pedigree and so on, under this video, and you can, if that's interesting to you, then do let me know. So that's the team. We are very blessed at the moment to have such a really exciting bunch of solid performers, or very high potential performers, and of course at least one of them will disappoint us against that aspiration, that hope, because that's the nature of the game. But we do have a really good squad, and it's going to be very exciting to see how the rest of the season plays out. And most of these are horses for the future as well as now, so it'd be exciting to see how not just the rest of this season, but next season and the season after that play out as well. It's we've got a great squad, and I hope that the filly Nirvana de Burle ex Futura is another one to join that list of high potential. Okay, this video has been quite long and somewhat off topic if Geegeez is your only interest, but I hope you've got something to take away from it. And I look forward to speaking to you again in the not too distant future with some further upgrades and updates. But that's all for this one. Goodbye for now.